My crush acted like he liked me, then laughed at me. 6 months later, he was pleading for a chance. You know that gut-wrenching, stomach-dropping feeling when someone you loved, someone who publicly humiliated you, suddenly reappears in your life years later, acting like nothing ever happened? Like they deserve another chance? Well, that happened to me. But this time, I wasn't that scared, heartbroken girl anymore. And I had a secret weapon. Complete, utter, unshakable indifference. For almost 2 whole years in high school, I was completely, hopelessly smitten with Nico. We were in the same friend group, all through junior and senior year, and he was just magnetic, funny, charming, with this incredible knack for making everyone feel like they were the most fascinating person in the room. When he talked to me, my world narrowed. I felt truly seen, truly special, and when he remembered tiny, insignificant details about my life, I genuinely believed it meant something real between us. Then the text started, more frequent, just between us. He'd asked to hang out, just the two of us. And I, a naive 17-year-old on the cusp of graduation, convinced myself it was all real. I wanted to believe he felt the same way so badly that I let myself fall completely, stupidly in love. The summer after graduation, at a party, I finally built up the courage. My hands were shaking. My heart was hammering against my ribs, but I pulled him aside. I confessed everything, told him I'd liked him for so long, wondered if maybe he felt something too. And he smiled, that smile, the one that used to melt me. He said he'd been waiting for me to say it, that he liked me too, had for months. He played the didn't want to ruin our friendship card, praising my bravery for making the first move. I could barely breathe. This was it, everything I'd ever wanted. He asked if he could kiss me. My first kiss. I whispered yes. For about 30 glorious, dizzying seconds, it was perfect. Pure, innocent magic. Then the laughter shattered everything. From the back door I heard them. His friends. One doubled over, struggling to breathe from laughing so hard. Another slow clapping, like I was some kind of pathetic performance. Nico pulled away from me, that same smile still plastered on his face, but now it was a cruel, knowing smirk. He turned to his buddies and just said it, the words that would haunt me for years. I told you she'd fall for it. It was a bet, a sick, twisted game. Someone had dared him to get me to confess, pretend to like me back, kiss me, and make sure everyone saw. I was the punchline, the joke, the collateral damage in their cruel little power play. My world collapsed. I don't remember leaving that party. The crushing weight of humiliation, the burning sting of tears blurring the road as I drove. I pulled over in some anonymous parking lot and just cried for an hour, until I was empty, until I could finally breathe again. That was, without a doubt, the worst night of my life. The story, of course, spread like wildfire. Our entire friend group knew. People I'd known for years were laughing, some behind my back, some brazenly to my face. I spent the rest of that summer a ghost, hiding in my room, dreading college. Would I ever trust anyone again? Would I always be that girl, the one who fell for the cruelest prank? But then I went to university, for hours away, a fresh start, and I made a silent vow to myself. I was going to become someone new. I threw myself into everything. Clubs, new friends, intense studying, working out, learning to dress in a way that made me feel powerful, not invisible. I shed that quiet background girl and became someone who walked into a room and commanded attention. This wasn't about Nico anymore. This was about proving to myself that I was worth so much more than a cruel joke. By junior year, I was a completely different person. A solid group of friends, a GPA I was proud of, and more confidence than I'd ever dreamed of possessing. I'd even dated a few people, nothing serious, but enough to know that I was capable of being truly wanted, not just played. High school was a distant, blurry memory. And then Nico showed up. He transferred to my university. Turns out he'd flunked out of his first school, got rejected from his second. My university was his backup plan. I saw him in a campus coffee shop during the first week of fall semester. He saw me and I watched his face. Recognition, then confusion, then something I'd never seen from him before. Interest. He walked over to my table. That old charm already kicking in. Wow, I almost didn't recognize you. You look amazing. Crazy running into you after all this time. He acted like we were long-lost buddies, like he hadn't publicly humiliated me in front of everyone we knew. Like that kiss wasn't the cruelest thing anyone had ever done to me. I just smiled, kept it short. Nice to see you, Nico. Gotta get to class. Didn't give him my number. Didn't agree to hang out. Just walked away, leaving him standing there, utterly confused. Oh, how the mighty had fallen. Over the next few months, he found ways to run into me. Parties, the library, even joining a club I was in despite having zero interest in its actual purpose. He'd text me, getting my number from mutual friends who clearly hadn't bothered to ask me first. Always casual, always friendly, always with that undertone of something more. I never took the bait. I was polite, yes, but ice-cold distant. One word replies hours later. Every invitation declined. No explanation, no bringing up the past. Just keeping him firmly at arm's length. It was driving him absolutely insane. And honestly, a small, vindicated part of me enjoyed watching him squirm. He was everywhere. Tuesday, library, 3 rows back watching. Wednesday, coffee shop in line ahead of me, bought both our drinks, tried to sit down. I thanked him, put in my earbuds, kept reading. Thursday, environmental club meeting. He walked in late, sat directly across from me, despite never caring about environmental issues before. My friend Leilani leaned over, whispered, "This is getting weird. Want me to tell him to back off?" I shook my head. I got this. Friday, campus gym, watching me in the mirror while I did squats. I finished my set, grabbed my water, and left 20 minutes early. Then the text. Saturday afternoon. Got your number from a friend. Hope that's okay. Been thinking it'd be good to catch up properly since we're both here now. He suggested coffee. I stared at that message for a long time. Part of me wanted to just ignore it. Another part, a curious, almost mischievous part, wondered what on earth he could possibly say. 2 hours later, I typed, "Sure. Coffee sounds fine." Monday, I almost didn't go. I stood outside the cafe for 3 long minutes debating. But I'd agreed, and I wanted to see if he'd actually acknowledge what he'd done, or just pretend it never happened. I pushed the door open. He was already there at a corner table, 2 drinks waiting. He stood, that charming smile back, the one that used to make my heart race. Now it just made me tired. "Ordered for you," he said. "Remembered you like vanilla lattes." I sat. "Thanks." He immediately launched into college life, his classes, his new apartment. He asked about my major, seemed genuinely interested in my research project, complimented my hair, suggested a party. I kept my answers short, pleasant, vague, declined the party with a polite, "Already have plans." I watched him work, topic after topic, trying every angle to get me engaged. Never once did he mention high school beyond vague references to our friend group. Never the party, the bet, the kiss, the laughter. He acted like our last interaction had been a normal goodbye before we headed off to different schools. Like we were old friends who'd simply drifted apart. After an hour of this careful small talk, he leaned forward, expression serious. He'd been thinking about me a lot, wondered what might have happened if we'd stayed in touch. Asked to make up for lost time. I gave him another non-committal smile. "That sounds nice." Glanced at my phone. "Need to get to class." He asked for my schedule. "I'll text you sometime." I walked out before he could suggest anything else. Leilani was waiting at our apartment when I got back. "How was coffee?" she asked, before I even put my bag down. I just collapsed on the couch. It went exactly as I expected. He'd spent the entire hour pretending the past didn't exist, testing the waters to see if I was still interested. Compliments, feigned fascination, future plans, all without acknowledging why we stopped talking in the first place. "So, what are you going to do about it?" she asked. And as I said it out loud, the answer became crystal clear. I didn't need to do anything. His complete inability to acknowledge his past told me everything I needed to know about whether he'd truly changed. I didn't need to confront him, explain, or give him chances. I just needed to keep being politely distant. He'd figure it out. Eventually, the text started again the very next day. A meme about our shared biology class, a concert invitation, a question about homework for a class we didn't actually have together. I responded hours later. Brief, helpful. Never flirty, never encouraging. Just pleasant enough that he couldn't call me rude, but distant enough to scream no interest. His frustration was palpable. The frequency of texts increased. The tone became slightly more desperate. He had nothing to work with because I wasn't giving him anything. No anger to fight, no interest to pursue. I was just politely, consistently unavailable in every way that mattered. Leilani dragged me to a party. I was getting a drink when someone tapped my shoulder. Johnny Kemp, one of Nico's closest friends, one of the guys laughing that night. My stomach tightened, but my face remained neutral. He asked to talk. In a quieter corner, he stumbled over an apology, said he was an immature jerk back then, genuinely sorry for laughing, for being part of something so cruel. I looked at his face. Real guilt. I appreciate that, Johnny, I said. I've moved on. He looked so relieved. We talked for 20 minutes about how much we'd both changed. Then he said something that stuck with me. Nico talked about me constantly, still trying to figure out why I was so distant. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't give him a real chance. Like his past behavior didn't have actual consequences. I just thanked Johnny for the information, kept my cards close. A few days later, Rocco Bowman walked me back to my apartment after an engineering study group. We'd been casually seeing each other, easy and comfortable. He was smart, kind, and treated me like I mattered. He noticed Nico constantly around. I gave him the Cliff's Notes version. The bet, the kiss, the humiliation. Nico trying to reconnect like nothing happened. Rocco listened. His response was simple. You deserve way better than someone who would treat you like that. I'm not worried. I can tell you're not interested in him at all. The next day, Rocco and I were talking after our shared Thursday class. I saw Nico approaching. His smile faltered as he saw Rocco standing close to me, laughing. A flash of something like jealousy crossed his face before he recomposed. Later that afternoon, Nico texted me, asked if Rocco and I were dating. He tried to sound casual. I replied, casually seeing each other. Nothing too serious. I watched the 3 dots appear and disappear several times. His response, cool. Hope you're happy. I could practically picture him staring at his phone, processing this new information with visible discomfort, realizing he wasn't the only option. Then Nico texted, asking if I wanted to come to a small gathering at his apartment that Friday. He mentioned some mutual high school friends would be there, including Faye. I'd run into Faye recently. She was different, more genuine. We'd had a great coffee. So I texted back, I'll stop by for a bit. I arrived around 8. Nico's face lit up when he saw me. He tried to guide me in, his hand brushing my arm. I smoothly moved away, headed straight for where Faye was standing. We fell into easy conversation. Nico hovered nearby, clearly waiting for an opening to join us. Every time there was a pause, he'd try to steer the conversation towards something that included him. I kept turning back to Faye. After about 20 minutes, he gave up and went to talk to some guys near the TV. Around 9:30, Faye touched my elbow and nodded toward the small balcony. We stepped outside into the cool night air. I heard about that party senior year, she said. It was really cruel what Nico and his friends did. My stomach tightened, but I kept my expression neutral. She asked if it bothered me to be around him now. No, I told her firmly. I'm completely fine. I'm not the same person I was in high school. He can't hurt me anymore. I've built a whole new life here. What happened back then has no power over me now. She studied my face like she was trying to determine if I was telling the truth or just being brave. I must have been convincing, because she relaxed. I'm glad. I was worried about bringing it up, but I wanted to make sure you were okay. We went back inside. Nico spotted us and was over immediately, gesturing to the balcony. Faye gave me a questioning look. I nodded. We stepped back out. He closed the door behind us, muffling the music. The balcony felt even smaller with him, standing close. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit I remembered. I know we had a weird moment at that party, senior year, he began. I want to clear the air about it. I stayed silent, curious. Would he finally acknowledge it? He shifted his weight. Everyone was drunk and stupid that night, and things got out of hand with his friends acting immature. He said he felt bad about how it ended, and wished we could move past it now that we were both more mature. He never actually said the words, "I'm sorry." He never took direct responsibility for orchestrating the whole thing. Instead, he framed it like some mutual awkward situation that just happened to both of us, like we were both victims of his friend's behavior. He said we were different people now, and hoped we could start fresh. I let the silence hang between us for a few seconds. Then very calmly, I appreciate you bringing it up, Nico. I have moved past it completely. I'm not angry or hurt anymore. I've grown a lot since then, and I hoped you had too. Relief washed over his face immediately. He stepped forward like he was going to hug me, arms already starting to lift. I took a smooth step back. Let's head back inside to rejoin everyone. His arms dropped. He looked disappointed but nodded quickly. The next 2 weeks were intense. Nico texted me constantly. Good morning messages, good night messages, random thoughts throughout the day. He asked me to study, to grab coffee, to check out a new restaurant. I responded to maybe one in every 5 texts. Always friendly, never encouraging. He started showing up at places he knew I'd be. Library, gym, student center. Leilani noticed. He's clearly pursuing you hard, she said, and I'm impressed by how you're handling it without being mean or leading him on. When our club announced a weekend camping trip, I signed up. The next day he texted, going on the trip? Yes. Just signed up too. We can carpool. I'm riding with Leilani and some other friends. He sent back a thumbs up emoji, but I pictured his face, the disappointment he was trying to hide. At the campsite, he tried to partner with me for everything. Setting up stoves, gathering firewood. Each time I smiled and included other people in whatever we were doing, turning every interaction into a group activity rather than giving him the private time he clearly wanted. Rocco was there too, which was a welcome comfort. During the hike, I made a point of spending visible time with him, laughing at his stories, walking next to him when the trail widened enough. I saw Nico watching us from behind. That night, around a big campfire, someone suggested truth or dare. Nico perked up immediately. When it was his turn, he chose truth. Do you have a crush on anyone here at the campsite? The question came. The air crackled. Everyone looked between us. Nico looked directly at me. Yes, he said. I'm interested in someone, but I'm not sure if she feels the same way. Leilani raised an eyebrow from across the fire. I kept my face utterly neutral, took a slow sip of hot chocolate. The game continued, but the mood had changed. Everyone was watching us. After about 20 minutes, I stood, going to get more water. Away from the firelight, digging through the cooler, I heard footsteps. Nico's voice said my name quietly. I turned. He was standing a few feet away, hands in his jacket pockets. I was talking about you during the game, he said. I knew. He stepped closer. I know we have history, but I've really fallen for who you are now. I'd love a chance to take you on a real date, to see if we could be something more than just people who used to know each other in high school. His voice was sincere, his eyes hopeful. I closed the cooler and stood up straight. Thank you for being honest, Nico. I need time to think about it. Neutral, neither encouraging nor cruel. He nodded. I understand. I'll wait for your answer. The week after the camping trip, my phone buzzed. Had time to think about going on a date? I waited 3 hours, swamped with midterms, barely time to breathe. Conveniently true, but also very convenient. Leilani, home from work, asked what I was leaning toward. Part of me, I confessed, wants to sit down with him and have a real conversation about what happened, get some closure. But another part just says to keep living my life, let it fade away naturally. She nodded. Both options make sense, but you need to figure out which one will actually make you feel better versus which one you think you should do. Then lunch with Faye. She said she could tell Nico really liked me, and he seemed different, more genuine. I asked what she actually knew about his time at his other schools. He partied way too much freshman year, stopped going to class, flunked out. Academic problems at his second school, too. I thanked her for being honest. That night, scrolling social media, I found his old page. Pictures of him with a girl who showed up repeatedly over several months freshman year. Her arm around him, comments calling each other cute names. I clicked over to her profile and scrolled back. Posts about being tired of games, about knowing your worth, about not settling for people who take you for granted. The timeline matched up with right before Nico flunked out. His pattern. It wasn't just me. He didn't appreciate people until they were gone. Johnny caught me on campus. Nico had asked him what he thought his chances were with me. Johnny had been honest. I seemed happy, not particularly interested in revisiting the past. Nico had apparently gotten defensive, insisted he was a different person. He's asking around, Johnny warned, trying to figure out where he stands. A Saturday night house party. I saw Nico standing near the back door talking to a girl I recognized from high school. She was laughing, clearly interested, touching his arm. I watched him from across the room. He was friendly, smiling, but his eyes kept darting around, like he was looking for someone. When he spotted me watching, his whole posture changed. He said something to the girl, excused himself, then worked his way through the crowd directly to me. He came up next to me. Having fun? I confirmed. He made small talk, then mentioned he'd been thinking about my answer to his date request. I looked him in the eye. Honestly, Nico, I'm not sure dating is a good idea, given our history. His face fell. He asked if I was ever going to forgive him, saying he thought we'd moved past it. I corrected him gently. I have forgiven you, Nico. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, or pretending it didn't matter. Something shifted in his expression then, like he was actually hearing what I was saying for the first time, instead of just waiting for his turn to talk. He looked at me with this mix of understanding and regret that I'd never seen on his face before. Is there anything I can do to prove I've changed? He asked. That I'm serious about wanting a real chance with you? Nico, I said, my voice steady. The problem isn't about proving anything. I've built a whole new life here. I worked hard to become someone confident and happy. And I'm not interested in bringing someone into it who reminds me of the worst moment of my old life. He was quiet for a moment, processing what I'd said. Then he asked if I was saying there was no chance at all ever. I thought carefully. I wanted to be honest without being cruel. I'm saying, I'm happy with my life exactly as it is right now. He nodded slowly, looking more defeated than I'd ever seen him. And then, without his usual confident swagger, he walked away. Over the next few days, my phone stayed quiet. No good morning texts from Nico. No random memes or questions about homework. He wasn't at the library during my usual study times. Wasn't at the coffee shop. Leilani asked if something had happened. I explained our conversation at the party. Proud of you, she said, for being honest instead of stringing him along, or being cruel just because you could be. The next day, Rocco found me after class. Want to get dinner this weekend? He asked, like an actual official date instead of just casual hanging out. I said yes, without hesitation. Saturday night, he picked me up and we drove to a nice Italian restaurant, the kind with cloth napkins and candles on the tables. We sat across from each other and talked about everything. He told me he thought I was smart, funny, beautiful. I believed him. He'd never given me reason not to, never played games or made me question if he meant what he said. Being with him felt completely different from anything I'd felt with Nico, because Rocco had liked me from the start without needing to lose me first to realize my value. A few days later in the library I saw Nico. He looked up, and something about his expression was different. He stood up and came over, hands in his pockets, no confident swagger or calculated charm. "How have you been?" he asked, genuinely. His voice sounded normal. I said I'd been good, busy. He nodded. "I've been thinking about what you said at the party, about how you weren't interested in bringing someone into your life who reminded you of the worst moment of your old life." He paused and looked at me directly. I never really understood before how much that night affected me, and I'm sorry for minimizing it when I tried to apologize. I stood there, surprised by how genuine he sounded. This wasn't the Nico who made excuses or blamed being drunk. This was someone actually taking responsibility. "I appreciate you saying that, Nico," I told him, and I meant it. He shifted his weight. "There's more I want to tell you if you have a minute." I glanced at my phone. I had time. Okay. We sat down at his table, and he started talking about how he'd been seeing a therapist since last semester. They'd been working on his pattern of not appreciating people until they were gone. He was starting to see how he did that with his ex-girlfriend at his old school and now with me. He explained his ex tried to talk to him for months, but he'd brushed her off, thinking she'd always be there. Then she broke up with him right before he flunked out. He lost everything at once. His therapist helped him realize he did the same with friendships and family. I watched him talk, noticing how different he seemed. This version of Nico was uncomfortable and honest, not performing or trying to charm me. I told him I appreciated him being vulnerable and actually taking responsibility. He looked relieved. He asked if we could at least be friends, maybe grab coffee sometimes. "Maybe eventually," I said, "but I need more space right now." He nodded. "I understand. I won't push." The next few weeks passed with barely any contact between Nico and me. He kept his word about giving me space. I didn't see him at my usual coffee shop or study spots. Didn't get random texts. It felt strange at first, like something was missing from my routine. But then I realized I'd gotten used to his constant presence and the underlying tension of avoiding him. I felt lighter somehow. Rocco and I were getting more serious. Leilani noticed the change. "You seem lighter lately," she said, "like you finally let go of something you didn't realize you were still carrying." She was right. I'd stopped thinking about Nico constantly. He'd become background noise. Faye grabbed me after psychology. She said she'd heard Nico had been keeping to himself more, focusing on his grades. "He seems different," she said. "Less cocky, more genuine. I wonder if losing his chance with you actually taught him something real." I hoped so for his sake, but added, "It's not my concern anymore." Faye gave me a knowing smile. Exactly. When someone isn't your concern anymore, that's when you've really moved on. Then the final incredible moment. At a party, someone started telling that old high school story about a bet, where someone convinced a girl to confess her feelings as a joke. My stomach dropped for a second, but before I could react, Nico spoke up from across the room, loudly, that he said was the worst thing I'd ever done to someone, and I've spent years trying to be better because of it. He didn't mention my name or point me out, but he took full responsibility without minimizing what happened or making excuses. He said he was cruel and wrong, and humiliating someone like that for entertainment was something he'd always regret. The room got quiet. Later that night, I found Nico outside on the back porch. I walked over and thanked him for what he'd said inside. He turned to look at me. "I meant every word of it," he said. "Humiliating you was cruel and wrong, and I'm genuinely sorry for what I did. Not sorry that I wouldn't give him another chance. Not sorry that it didn't work out between us, but genuinely, truly sorry for hurting me in the first place." I told him I appreciated the apology, and I could see he was different now. "We don't need to be friends," I said. "Probably never will be. but I'm glad you're growing into a better person. He asked if I was happy. Yes, I said. I really am. He smiled. Good. That's what matters. Rocco and I got engaged. He proposed, and I said yes immediately. Being with him felt right. Built on actual respect, genuine affection from the very beginning. No games, no tests. I realized I was so grateful I trusted myself and waited for someone who valued me from the beginning, who never made me question whether I was worth loving. Graduation day. Nico, with his girlfriend and family, waved. I waved back. Both of us genuinely friendly. No lingering tension. No unfinished business, no regrets. Just two people who knew each other once, learned their separate lessons, and moved on to build good lives. Later, Nico approached me. He was moving to Seattle for a job. Thank you, he said, for teaching me that actions have consequences and that some things can't be undone just because you want them to be. His voice was steady, genuine. I told him I hoped he had a great life out there, and I meant it completely. No bitterness, just honest hope that he'd be better to the people he met next. He nodded, shook Rocco's hand, and walked back to his girlfriend. And that was it. The final conversation we'd probably ever have. Leilani and I sat on our apartment steps, watching moving trucks. She told me watching me set boundaries, refusing to settle, inspired her in her own relationships. My choice to protect myself ended up being an example for someone I loved. Proof that standing firm in your worth can matter beyond just your own life. Packing up my apartment, preparing for the move to the city where Rocco and I had both found jobs, I kept thinking about that heartbroken girl for years ago. The one who thought she'd never trust anyone again, never feel confident or wanted or safe. I wished I could go back and tell her she'd be okay, that she'd become strong and sure of herself, and loved by someone who deserved her from the very beginning. That revenge isn't about hurting the person who hurt you or making them suffer the way you suffered. Sometimes it's just living well, building a life so good that what they did becomes utterly irrelevant. Rocco and I drove away, merging onto the highway. I barely remembered what it felt like to want Nico's approval, to care whether he thought I was pretty or interesting or worth his time. The best revenge wasn't making him want me or punishing him for what he did. It was becoming someone who knew her worth so deeply, so completely, that his opinion became totally irrelevant. Just background noise in a life filled with real love and genuine respect. That was my victory, and it was mine forever. Something no one could take away or diminish or make me doubt. So, tell me, have you ever experienced a moment like this, where you had to choose between letting go or holding on? How did you find your own peace, your own victory? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your stories.